City Council minutes dated June 22nd, 2026.
I so move.
Ridenhour,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Latari,
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
Thank you.
Adoption of agenda.
I move to approve agenda as presented.
Ridenhour,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Latari,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Euler.
Yes. Moving right along, proclamation. We have a proclamation for Parks and Recreation Month, July 2026. All three of you, come on up. And great job on the festival, 4th of July. It was fantastic.
So good.
Third and fourth.
Yeah.
Parks and Recreation Month proclamation, July 2026. Whereas Parks and Recreation is an integral part of communities throughout the country, including Warrensburg, Missouri. And whereas Parks and Recreation promotes health and wellness, improving the physical and mental health of people who live near parks. And whereas Parks and Recreation encourages physical activities by providing space for popular sports, hiking trails, swimming pools, and many other activities designed to promote active lifestyles. Whereas Parks and Recreation programming and education activities such as out-of-school time programming, youth sports, and environmental education are critical to childhood development. And whereas Parks and Recreation increases a community's economic prosperity through increased property values, expansion of the local tax base, increased tourism, the attraction and retention of businesses, and crime reduction. And whereas the U.S. House of Representatives has designated July as Parks and Recreation Month. Whereas the National Recreation and Parks Association theme this year is the power of. To celebrate the many ways Parks and Recreation reveals the power of what connects us, including the power of connection, the power of play, the power of community, the power of nature, the power of belonging, and the power of well-being. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Bruce Euler, Mayor of Warrensburg, Missouri, along with the Warrensburg City Council, do hereby proclaim the month of July 2026 as Parks and Recreation Month in the city of Warrensburg, Missouri, in witness whereof I hereunto set my hand and seal this 13th day of July 2026. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Really quick, sorry. Sorry. Great. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Item 6.1, a public hearing on an ordinance amending chapter 27 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Warrensburg, Missouri, establishing the McGuire Street Corridor Overlay District, presented by Barbara Carroll, AICP, Director of Community Development.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. This is, tonight is the culmination of many months, almost 2 years of work on this portion of the Rethink McGuire project. And so early on, as the consultants began working with the city on the design of what we wanted the future McGuire Street corridor to look like, there were discussions around certain themes that weren't going to be typically addressed by design and construction elements of the project. Things having to do with how the private development adjacent to the corridor functions and looks alongside our right-of-way improvements. And so at that point in time, the consultants with Burns & McDonnell began working with the city and discussing ways that we could start to address some of those aesthetic pieces that were coming up in our visioning conversations with the community. And so there have been several, I would say for the last 6 months, we've actively been working with the community in promoting educating, letting people know that this is happening and that we're discussing these concepts. So there was a Planning and Zoning took this up at their January 5th, 2026 meeting. And then City Council, you had a work session on it at your January 26th meeting. There was a public information session held on February 19th. And that's this presentation that's included in the council packet as one of the attachments this evening. And that's what's on your screens at this point in time. And then again, we have discussed it at Planning and Zoning Commission in June. Then we did a mailing to all of the property owners of record about the July P and Z meeting where it would be discussed and about this evening's hearing where it would be discussed. So those mailings went out in the middle of June, and we have had some additional input come in since then. We had some come from prior to and right after the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, during the commission meeting, and those are highlighted in your packet. And then Mike received, the city manager received an additional comment earlier today. Yeah, if you want to summarize that.
So I was contacted by a property developer here in the community, really inquiring of my opinion more so than offering public comment to relay to you. But the question was whether I thought that these requirements related to signs would hinder or be a hindrance to development. And my response was, that certainly wasn't the intention. This is intended to be an aesthetic improvement along the corridor, intended to make it more attractive and invite investment. But I did acknowledge that, you know, each development project has its challenges. And if that comes up and it seems like it's more than just a kind of a knee-jerk reaction that we always do signs this way, it actually seems problematic. And that's something that probably would merit revisiting the topic, revisiting their particular circumstance and seeing if an amendment was necessary. So we left it at that. Like I said, it was more of an inquiry of my opinion, a little bit of collaboration about just keeping options open, I think.
So the public comment that was received at the Planning and Zoning Commission, and since then, is detailed in the staff report, as well as all the other comments that we've received following the public information meeting and the questions that were asked by the Planning and Zoning Commission in January. So we've provided answers to those questions in the staff report. In the interest of time this evening, my intent is not to walk through the whole PowerPoint presentation. I do want to walk through the ordinance a little bit and give the highlights of what those changes are and how this will work. It is very few changes have been made. The ones that have been made are outlined in the packet, but very, very, very similar to what was conceptualized and discussed back in February is what landed in the ordinance and is what is in front of you this evening. So I am going to move ahead in the PowerPoint to get to the map, which will show, and again, north is to your right on the slide there at the interchange of 50 and 13. And so McGuire there, that's looking at it from north to south, from left to right. So actually north to south would be right to left. And so the properties in yellow are the parcels that would be in the McGuire Street Corridor Overlay District.
If I may, the Bethlehem Lutheran Church, that nice big long parcel there, if they were to cut that in half, it would no longer fall within your boundaries, but are they grandfathered in?
No, it wouldn't be grandfathered in. So the way the ordinance is written is that if a parcel is within 60 feet of the right of way, then all portions of the parcel are in the district. If they did a lot split and because you can't landlock a piece of property, they couldn't just split off the back half. They would either need to combine it into another lot when they sell it, or you could create probably they have enough frontage for 2 60-foot wide front lots, but that would still put all of that land, the depth still in the district. So it would depend, but if they found a way to legally split the back half off and put it into, say, another parcel, and so it's not within 60 feet of frontage of McGuire Street, then no, it would no longer be in the district.
Okay, so that zoning goes back to normal zoning or whatever it is zoned as.
General business, yeah.
Thank you.
So I'll start a little bit with, as we walk through the ordinance, it is structured to be an overlay district. And an overlay district lays on top of your underlying zoning district, and your underlying zoning district of all of these pieces in yellow is general business. And so that zoning doesn't change. You're not suddenly not general business. You're still general business. You have a McGuire Street overlay on top of you. And an overlay district can modify or amend or supplement any or some of those underlying zoning regulations. And that's what this does. And it touches several different parts of the underlying zoning, does some setbacks, parking, landscaping, signage. So it touches a lot of different pieces of that underlying zoning requirements. And so that is laid out in the beginning, and it talks about that if something in the general business or the underlying parking or the underlying landscaping is not modified by the zoning code or by the overlay district, it doesn't mean you don't have to do that anymore. So you don't just do the McGuire Street corridor stuff now. You still have to do both. And it just tweaks it. But it doesn't absolve you of doing something that we didn't put in the McGuire Street overlay district. Goes through the intent, designates the area, and at this time it would be between the Highway 50 corridor and the railroad right-of-way, Railroad Street on the south end, these lots that are within 60 feet of that right-of-way. The first set of ordinances that it amends, first set of regulations that it amends are the setback requirements. And so currently McGuire Street is a arterial, that stays the same, and it has a 40-foot setback. And in the new proposed overlay district, that would change to a 20-foot setback with a 30-foot build to line. So at this point, you have to start building with some portion of your building within 50 feet of the right-of-way. On this map, the green lines are the 20-foot measurement. And this isn't the whole corridor, just a stretch of it between Gay Street and North Street. And the red lines is the let's see that far. It's a 30-foot building line. So that would be a build to line. So for instance, Central Bank is setting at about 25 feet from the right of way. Arby's is about 50 feet. Those would still be fine in the overlay district. Central Plaza and the one with Jimmy John's is setting much further back than that build to line. Next area that we get into are the this is going to get confusing because these are in different order than the ordinance itself, are the building design standards in the ordinance. If you're following along in the ordinance, we get to the building design standards. And here we start talking about building height that increases to 3 stories. We would be adding screening for rooftop components so that they're screened from view on all sides. On the first floor only, adding a transparency requirement so that 30% of the first floor facade that's facing public street is transparent, meaning windows or doors we see in. Adding material requirements. Currently, you don't have anything as far as material requirements go. And then giving a requirement for entrances that for facades greater than 150 feet in length. And that's the building facade, not just like your lots 150 feet long, but the building itself, 150 feet in length, facing a public street, then a building entrance must be located every 50 feet. So that would be your building design. I'll go backwards now to parking. On the parking, here is where this overlay district then introduces some flexibility that we haven't had before. You may recall previously when I talked about this, and still true today, when I here in a minute talk about a base standard, that is your current parking requirements. Our current parking is determined by first what land use are you, and then what parking calculation is required for that land use. And those calculations are universal across all our zoning districts. They could be modified for the overlay district. So the current is the base standard, and this would allow, under the overlay district, would allow a minimum, you could reduce that to 80% of the base, so a 20% reduction. You could further reduce that by 2 more spaces by providing bicycle parking on site up to, and the max you could do is provide 8 bicycle parking spaces for a reduction of 2 car spaces. Also introduces a maximum. You can no longer build more than 125% of the base standard. Again, looking at the impact that has on our stormwater infrastructure and the environment in general. So trying to limit overbuilding parking. This and other, well, and then if you needed to go, for some reason you wanted to go above 125%, planning and zoning could recommend, could consider that and recommend approval if they wanted to. And then with a change in use, so for instance, I want to take my office building and turn it into a restaurant. That's a more intense use, a totally different parking calculation, now based on the number of seats instead of on number of square footage. And so this would allow the zoning official to reduce that requirement up to 25% reduction. And then again, planning commission could further reduce that if they wanted to. We did building design already. Now I think signage is next. With several sign types in the city, pole signs is what you think it is. A pylon sign is a multi-sided sign similar to what you see there. And that best example of that is Central Bank has something like that. And then we have a lot of ground mounted signs. So going forward in the overlay district, the pole signs would be prohibited, and the ground mounted signs then are going to be your first ground mounted signs, and wall signs are going to be your main 2 types of signs. And the ground mounted signs, there's a height reduction from 15 feet to 8 feet and a new maximum surface display area requirement of 100 square feet. So that picture on the right is an example of what we hope to see through this, where we're bringing the buildings closer to the street so that a wall sign can be what your signage is, and start to reduce the number of freestanding signs, ground mounted signs, those things necessary in front of the buildings, hoping that by bringing the buildings closer, wall signs can start to suffice as our signage along the corridor. In landscaping, there are additional landscaping requirements related to parking lot screenage along streets. And so it depends how close your screening is to the street, how close your parking is to the street, but there are additional perimeter screening requirements. And then this is more like the look that we would be looking for along our public streets. And then in the, if you put them in medians in the parking lots, some requirements about size of those medians in an attempt to try to get them to live longer. And then there are perimeter foundation screening requirements. So it's hard to see there, but if you squint like me, you can see there's some foundation planting, some shrubs there. And so starting to require that type of foundation planting. Not across the entire building. He's kind of got it across the whole thing, but 50% of building facades adjacent to unpaved areas and facing a public street. So it's not the whole facade, but 50% of that. And then clarifying that our landscaping materials need to be vegetative ground cover and not entirely rock, gravel, or pea gravel. So putting some requirements on where gravel can be in an attempt to keep it from migrating into the right of way itself, which can be damaging for vehicles as well as our other modes of transportation like bicycles and motorcycles. This one we haven't talked a lot about. I don't think it was really well conceived in the when we met in January. It was added late in the process. This is outlined in much more detail in the ordinance actually than on this page. But noting that exceptions to standards in the overlay district can be appealed to the Planning and Zoning Commission, and then giving them standards for considering those appeals and why they would be granted or not granted. So giving them some guidelines how to make those decisions when those appeals come forward. This was placed in this specifically given this power to the Planning and Zoning Commission because the other option for an appeals would be to go through the variance process with the Board of Adjustment. But the Board of Adjustment as a quasi-judicial body has a very high standard of law when granting a variance. And what they have to be able to find is that you've been denied all reasonable use of your property because of our ordinances. And staff felt that in most cases, we're not going to be able to find that. Right? You're still going to be able to use your property. It's just probably maybe not the way that would work best for your business or for the district. But you can still use it for something, and so we wouldn't be able to grant the variance. The standards that are outlined here for the Planning and Zoning Commission are not that strict. They can have a more legislative process where they hear both sides. It's not a standard of law that is as strict as that variance process. So they can look at the intent of the district, the intent of those requirements, your specific changes, and how that would better serve the intent and the district. It is similar, it's not the same, but think of it more like the conditional use permit process where you get to look at it on a case-by-case basis. It's kind of like that. We've tried to give these guiding principles so that your staff has an ability to make consistent recommendations to you, and you have some means by which to be consistent in granting or not granting them, but it's not going to be as strict as the variance process. And then further, if Planning and Zoning Commission were to deny an exception, they could appeal to City Council. So with that, that's the basics of the ordinance itself. I think we've covered everything. Let me look here. Only one other thing that has came up both in the public meeting and it came up at in the planning and zoning conversation. And Phil will speak to it more here in a second with the different agenda item. But one of the questions, one of the discussions that was coming through the visioning process and was addressed to some extent in the design and then further addressed here this evening is the question of what about these properties that have multiple driveways or very wide driveways that exceed our maximum width for a driveway, or they feel like they're close to the intersection and people cut across and cut through parking lots. So some of those were addressed in the design of the corridor. As you look down the corridor, we've definitely narrowed some of those and eliminated some of those. There is nothing in the overlay district, though, that speaks to that question. Staff, both planning and zoning staff, as well as public works staff and Burns McDonald team got together following the public meeting in February to talk about that specific issue. And we felt that the city had, through your right-of-way access management ordinance, you have good standards already that were adopted a decade or more ago. And those are being implemented as properties redevelop. What we felt we saw were, there's one set of triggers for what qualifies as redevelopment in zoning, and some differences in the right-of-way access management. So a project might trigger McGuire Street Overlay District, but not trigger right-of-way access management. And so we wanted to bring those two in alignment so that both would be applied as projects go forward. If they meet the trigger, they might not meet it, but that way, we think you have, I mean, particularly like if you look at Seven Brew or Casey's, your current ordinance influenced and directed where those driveways could be. You eliminated 2 along McGuire for Casey's and brought that down to 1 and narrowed it. At Seven Brew, it's not accessed directly onto Russell because they couldn't get the distance from the intersections that were required. It comes off of Charles Street. So that code is working. It just has to be triggered for each instance that the zoning is triggered for. So that ordinance will be on your agenda later this evening, but you don't see anything in this ordinance related to that, and that's why. Last thing I'm going to say that made me think of this. This is an ordinance that will be, speaking of triggers, implemented over time as properties redevelop. So just because one business changes in a strip mall, that's not going to trigger moving the whole building forward 60 feet. It will be when properties are vacant over 365 days and that use has been an abandoned use. It could be triggered by a change in use of a whole structure, not just a portion of a structure. It could be triggered by a total tear down and rebuild. Those triggers are outlined already in the zoning ordinance. It's already what we use to say you have to bring your parking lot up to standards. So we're not changing any triggers. They stay the same. It's just that this is one of the things that may get triggered now if you're in the district. So I think that's all I have for presentation. And if you have questions, I'd be happy to answer those. I should say Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval at their meeting Monday night.
A couple of quick things.
Mm-hmm.
The signs, lots of people have questions about the signs. I just want to make sure I understand in the council letter about that. Would they say, are there any incentives to remove signs? And there are not.
Correct.
That if the ordinance passes, signs that don't meet the requirements of the ordinance will be considered non-conforming, but nothing, the property owner doesn't have to then do something about that sign, right? It just is considered non-conforming. And when there's a trigger to change, then at
Right,
that
and so
point-
signs, property owners of signs and sign companies are very smart and they're very aware of their triggers. But one thing to know is you can change the plastic panel in a sign cabinet. You can change it out all day long. It does not even require a sign permit. Just slide a new piece of plastic in. So if you keep a well-maintained sign, this may never be an issue. The number of signs you're allowed is not changing. So we allow 1 sign per, not freestanding. So the yard, pole, pylon, or ground mounted, 1 per street frontage. So a property like Arby's has 2 sides, 2 street sides, so they could have 2 signs. So we're not changing the number of signs that you can have. which we are changing the type, right? That changes. And, the height of the one type. No changes to wall signs and making changes to that. And, so we rarely see a sign, trigger replacement. It has happened, but, yeah, just because we pass this does not mean it will make more non-conforming signs than you have before you pass it, but they may be there for decades to come.
And then, this is just curiosity, and on the map that's from the, is the very last piece of, the very last document that's attached under this public hearing, the future land use map.
Mhm.
Just honestly curious, it says community, commercial and neighborhood mixed use is English major here. Is there supposed to be a comma between community and commercial? Is that two separate things?
Those
Or
are two separate things.
community, comma, commercial.
No,
Okay, community, commercial.
it's community commercial.
Okay,
As
what-
opposed to, if you look in the, if you look on the left hand in the legend,
Yep.
that's opposed to neighborhood commercial.
Okay.
And then,
Can you
so
say
a
that
neighborhood
again?
commercial area is going to be an area that largely services people who live around there. So a dry cleaners,
Hmm.
Places that somebody pulls off Highway 50 and they're probably not going to that, right? They're not, pull off Highway 50 to go to a dry cleaner randomly, or even an insurance agent randomly,
Yeah.
or a doctor's office randomly. Community commercial would be things like a big box or gas stations, places that, yes, you might pull off Highway 50 because not only the people that live there want to buy coffee, but the guy driving down the highway wanted to buy coffee too. So there's a difference on that. And I believe the neighborhood commercial, when we adopted this in 2017, there was a lot of discussion around that being more on the south end of McGuire.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That's it.
On the signage, you mentioned it's one freestanding sign per street. Is that correct?
Per street frontage, yes.
Do alleyways count or is it
It's
just?
just streets. Alleys do not count.
Okay. Also, the height limit, do we define a story anywhere in our,
Yes,
Or is it-
yes, we do.
okay,
And the zoning ordinance defines it, and then further believe the fire code has an actual foot height requirement beyond which you have to do extra things. And so 30 feet is about the max we see on commercial buildings, separate from like hotels, like for retail or office. We don't, while we have the ability now to go to 3 stories, I think the 3rd story would more likely be like if we were adding residential, not commercial.
so are you saying 30 feet, 10 feet per story, 30 feet max?
The definition is not a foot. It doesn't have a number on it. The fire code puts a number on it. So the fire code will trigger different construction standards, but it would still allow it, I believe. The zoning defines it as the space between the floor and the ceiling, basically. But no story can be less than 6 feet.
Okay, so minimum of 18 feet and then the maximum is just defined by fire code is what you're saying.
In the zoning, I wouldn't think of it as a maximum.
Okay,
And I don't know, that it's a minimum either. If you didn't want 3 stories, you could be somewhere below
Well,
18.
true. Yes, thank you. That's all I had. Thank you.
Jessica has that for you.
This is a public hearing, so we'll see if we have anyone that wishes to speak. Oh, okay. There are none. Any other questions from the council? Okay. We'll close the public hearing on that ordinance amendment and move to item 7.1. An ordinance amending chapter 27 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Warrensburg, Missouri, establishing the McGuire Street Corridor Overlay District. Presented by Barbara Carroll. Any questions for Barbara?
Nope.
Okay, thank you.
Motion to move to second reading by title only.
If I may make a comment real quick. Sure. I love what we have here. I'm all for it and everything. I do think just with the amount of public comment we've already received, I would like to open it up for some more public comment over the next 2 weeks. So I would ask that we hold second reading next meeting. That's just a comment I wanted to make before we voted.
Do we have any deadlines that we would be missing, or would there be any issue as far as staff knows of why that?
No,
That's a
that
problem.
would be fine. You don't have any issues that I can.
Do you have to republish?
No, because you've had your hearing, you've opened and closed your hearing, and so it's that happened per the published notice. Well, you haven't closed it yet, but you opened it on the right day and time.
Yeah, that's fine.
Did close
I
it.
closed it, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's pretty swift.
He's very swift. So I'll go ahead and read. Ridenhour,
No.
Osborne,
Yes.
Latari,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
Okay. And we'll hold off second reading will be next meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 7.2, an ordinance amending chapter 20 of the Code of City Ordinances regarding right-of-way improvements, presented by Phil Adlich, Director of Public Works.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. So as Barb mentioned, this ordinance modifies chapter 20 in the ordinances to make it more in line with the zoning triggers that, you know, the Public Works uses to modify the access management. Some of the ordinance changes are, we revised the definition of change in use, and where we go to change in use instead of zoning. This helps us, you know, be in line with community development, and whenever a building comes in for a change of use, it triggers us to look at the situation and make recommendations or requirements. Updates the driveway standards. Residential maximum driveway was reduced from 30 feet to 24 feet. There's a 36 feet with the 3-car garage. So if you have a 2-car, it's only 24 max. So it changes that. Updates tables in our ordinance so that it regulates or shows those changes. It updates sidewalk, curb, and gutter requirements so that when redevelopment occurs, property owners must install required sidewalks. If you all remember, along certain streets, it's required one. Along cul-de-sacs, there are required sidewalks. And then on arterial and major streets, it's required both, one on each side. So the intent is to ensure redevelopment projects that trigger zoning related improvements also trigger right-of-way related improvements. So we recommend that this is approved. Stand for any questions?
Yes, so in the letter, it notes to make sure I'm in the right thing here. In the letter, there's a note about potentially asking for some more public notice in order to get more feedback, because even though it's not required, it may affect several property owners, so I would be interested in that. So on the
If you
first
want
page
to-
of the council letter, towards the bottom, it says public notice consideration. The city council may, at its discretion, direct staff to
Discretion
conduct a
if you
public
want us
notice
to keep
process.
it Open, like what Max did on the last one,
Is that,
for public.
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
If you wanted to do like what Max did on the last one
Right.
and wanted to keep it open for public comment. That is your discretion.
Yeah.
Are you asking for public comment or for it to be published or both? Public comment or or
Your public hearing is a much different animal than.
Yes.
So you've had your public hearing on the first part, now we've suspended the second part to allow for just more feedback in general.
but she's talking about this one.
Public notice, right?
Right. So do you want your public notice in the paper or are you just wanting to allow more time for people to?
She's referring to the bolded portion on page 1, at the end of page 1.
Oh, sorry.
And I'm here.
Are you with me now?
Jones was asking exactly the right question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm asking, do you want?
To be publicly
Yes.
put out there in the
Do you want it
paper.
put in the
you want it-
paper so that people know that we're discussing this? Or are you just asking that we delay it so people have more of an opportunity and the delay without publishing it, how are they gonna know that we delayed it and they can come in?
That's next. I guess so did I understand that I'm looking at an old version or something? Is that what?
No.
Okay, sorry, I'm confused.
Correct.
I'm
So
confused.
the formal public hearing process is required on certain items, which is what necessitated the public hearing for the McGuire Street overlay district.
Yep.
If the council wishes to allow for additional public comment, you could do that in a couple of different ways. You could just not take action on the second reading to allow 2 weeks time to pass in between, or you could say, I'd like it published in the paper to make an extra effort to make people aware. Still wouldn't be public hearing to the level of formality as in McGuire Street,
Right.
but you could ask that it be published in the paper just as an additional step to try to get the word out.
Yeah, I'm in favor of that. And before I be more formal about that, one of the reasons I'm asking for that, or I'm interested in that, is because of the change to residential. So I'm not clear about why there's a change to residential when most of what I thought this was about is the McGuire Street corridor.
No,
So,
this
This is-
ordinance covers all of our,
right, yes,
So-
and so why is there a change to residential? I guess?
well, it was to more in line with what triggers our reviews and requirements for change of use instead of zoning. And that was the width of driveways is something that community development and public works has always been a little off
Gotcha.
for some reason. So with this, we were just going to tighten it up so that whenever community development says, no, it's gotta be 24 foot. And well, they say in public works, it's 30. So somehow in there,
Gotcha.
we got that years ago.
That's, for
Incorrect.
some reason, I read it all and I still wasn't making that connection until you said that, even though I
We're
know
just
Barb, you just said that.
Straightening things up in-house to make
Okay.
it all aligned
Sure.
and not have so many questions when a developer comes in and says, well, this says this and this says that.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you. And so, does anyone else have any concern about allowing more public notice, more public conversation?
I don't necessarily have issue with this process. It doesn't seem like we're talking about 6 feet difference and a couple word changes, in my opinion. Now, I did have a question though, if I may.
Please.
we had taken our driving tour a couple months ago. We had talked about some properties that duplexes where the driveways
Yeah, with-
didn't really line up. Does this resolve any of that, or is that a totally separate issue?
That's totally, that's where.
I wasn't, that was.
Yeah, but that's where you got a single drive, but it widens out. And wings out.
No, this doesn't address that. That could still happen.
Okay.
There are reasons that happens. I'm sorry, I went on the tour, so I don't know what all you got into and whether you liked them or
So,
didn't like them, I'm not
It
sure.
was- I pointed out that is a narrower driveway width. And then a wing is allowed,
Mhm.
and that corner gets cut, and it cuts through the yard and wallers out the yard and
Okay.
turns it into kind of a muddy rut. And there was developer feedback that if they had their preference, it would be, and in the case of the duplex, it would be 6 lanes wide, 3.
Right, so they would like the wing to essentially be at the street side and then
Right.
narrow towards the house.
Right.
But that has problems as well. So, there's pros and cons to both. And that we have is part of, so we are very close to, having a consultant on board for the parking analysis requirements or parking requirements analysis and parking code reform. And part of that scope would be to look at the design of residential parking. And so that is one question that will be posed to them to see what they would recommend, if they would recommend a change, and if so, what change. Because we know that there's pros and cons to both, so we can see what the recommendation is.
So if as clarification, to synchronize if a new development came in today, wanted to have a 2-lane driveway, 2-car garage, what would the zoning code allow for platted driveway?
20 on a single family.
Yeah.
24 feet.
Right. So,
On a duplex. If they had a 2-car garage, 24 feet, separated by 1 foot.
Right.
They could each have. The wing outs are usually on 1 lane, like where there's a 12-foot. Or a 15-foot, and then it
one
wings
car
out.
garage and yeah.
Right, they have a 1-car garage and a wing, and they're doing that to get the 3rd space. For a 4-bedroom duplex.
So if it's helpful, this amendment synchronizes with the current zoning code. It already applies to new construction, is synchronized with requirement would apply to redevelopment. And then as we go through the parking study, all of that could be up for discussion and amendment.
So it could hypothetically change again.
Right. Yes.
But only after the parking analysis is finished.
Right.
Yeah,
We'll
so
have that
part of
data.
their scope, while their scope is primarily chapter 27, part of the scope is to then look at, are there. Adjacent ordinances, adjacent code provisions that would also need to be amended. And identify those for us, so this would be.
This would be
they.
Sure.
If we're changing it in zoning, they would identify needed to be changed in right of way.
Thank you.
So now I'm gonna speculate a little bit, but it seems likely that the public comment you're most likely to get would be from the development community.
Mhm.
And that feedback probably gonna more appropriately be taken up with parking study.
Gotcha.
This amendment would apply to non-developers, well, it could be a developer, but an existing property, not a newly constructed lot, a redeveloped property.
Gotcha.
So for someone to pick up on that and comment.
Find it. Gotcha. Okay, thank you. I retract my request for more public notice. Thank you for explaining all of that, all of you.
Just to clarify, we're not really changing anything, we're just aligning
Correct.
Parks and Rec and Community Development.
Well, not Parks and Rec, but.
Or, sorry,
Development,
Public Works.
Yes.
Sorry, Parks and Rec.
The right of way management and Public Works.
Chris is like, what?
Yes, thank you.
I
Thank
don't
you.
need that.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Phil. Thanks, Susie.
Thank you.
Move to second reading by title only.
Thank you.
Ridenhour,
Yes.
Osborne.
Yes.
Latari.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
An ordinance amending chapter 20 of the Code of City Ordinances regarding right-of-way improvements. This is for approval or rejection. Ridenhour,
Yes.
Osborne.
Yes.
Latari.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 7.3, an ordinance approving and accepting the minor plat of Miller Farm Estates, lots 6-A and 7-A, a subdivision in the city of Warrensburg, Missouri, located at 902 and 908 PCA Road, presented by Barbara Carroll, Director of Community Development.
Thank you, Mayor. There is a map in your packet, several maps. These are properties, and you should have the very big map. The plat itself is attachment A to your ordinance. These are properties, if you come to the intersection of PCA Road and Northfield, or Grandview Drive, as you look forward, you'll see 902 PCA Road, and to the, just north of that to the right, 908 PCA Road. This is a replat to move an interior lot line. So as it goes northwest from PCA Road in between the two houses, it would go back almost 70 feet and then turn to the north and go straight north-south to the north property line. So lot 6A at 908 PCA Road will be getting smaller. That lot will be smaller. And 902 PCA Road, lot 7A, will be getting larger. The easement is an existing easement, and they have centered the new property line on that easement. So it doesn't change any of the other easements or placement of the structures, existing structures on the land. Those have all been shown on the plat so that we could verify the setbacks would remain satisfied even with the movement of the internal lot line. There were some changes that staff requested during the review process. All of those have been made. And so at this point, staff in the Planning and Zoning Commission can recommend approval as presented. There are no exceptions necessary to lot width or depth or size, and there are no special conditions or features that require an exception to the plat. So Planning and Zoning Commission took this up at their meeting last week and recommended approval as submitted. You have a copy, I hope, of their recommendations in your packet. And one of the applicants is here this evening if you have any questions for him.
I just have a question out of just pure curiosity. Lot 7A has that sewer easement. Do we know what that, it doesn't really have any information. Do we know what that easement's for? And is there a need to have that there anymore?
Yeah, there's a sewer lift station down in the valley that pushes up now.
Okay, so we do have stuff in there right now. Okay.
Yeah, that was an easement that carried forward from the prior plat and is necessary.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Nope.
Nope. Thanks, Barbara.
Motion to move to second reading by title.
Ridenhour,
Yes.
Osborne.
Yes.
Latari.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
An ordinance approving and accepting the minor plat of Miller Farm Estates, lots 6A and 7A, a subdivision in the city of Warrensburg, Missouri, located at 902 and 908 PCA Road. This is for adoption or rejection. Ridenhour,
Yes.
Osborne.
Yes.
Latari.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 7.4, an ordinance authorizing a third party to locate, construct, and maintain a sanitary sewer connection to city sanitary sewer line and for access to the same for purposes of ongoing maintenance, presented by Phil Adlich.
Evening, Mayor, council members. So this is a request for the approval of third party to come in and install a force main that they will maintain on a public easement there on where the Dobbs tires going to be. It's by Tractor Supply Company.
What's a force main? What do you mean
So
force?
when you install a pump and to move sewer from one place to another, if it's got to be under pressure, it's a force main. It's forcing liquid to a certain destination.
Okay,
So we have a few of them with our pump stations. They have force mains so far until it can get into a gravity fed or gravity line, and then it'll be all gravity to the plant.
okay.
So this is a private force main that we will require the owners to maintain. But it will be in our setup utility easement. So
Thank you.
That's cut and dry. We recommend that it gets approved. Any questions?
I haven't ever seen this come through before. So how is this enforced in the long term? I mean, here in 30 years, if that business is no longer here or something, it's just an easement
So
or?
this is gonna get recorded. It's a license to utilize the easement. It's not an actual, we're not actually giving them an easement. We're basically giving them a license to enter the land and utilize it for this purpose. So it's kind of a hybrid between, wait, it's not really an easement.
It's pretty much the same way we do. If we have an issue, we let the landowner know that we're gonna come in and fix it. They would have to do the same.
Yeah, it operates very similar to an easement, but for this particular language, we're not actually granting, like, we're not recording a separate easement, because the easement already exists.
Yeah, it exists.
We're just saying, yes, we agree that you can, we don't want to maintain your sewer line, we'd like for you to maintain your sewer line, so that would be one.
And that was the point I was gonna make. The more common request is, hey,
Yeah,
you
we
build a
don't-
sewer line, I'd like to give it to the
Yes.
city. It's not designed to take on more than just their service, so.
Yes.
Our counter was, your line, your maintenance responsibility in the right one, in the easement.
Is there a potential issue of, high pressure or anything, if we have a blockage in our main line and then them continuing to force, into our main line or anything like that?
The line that it goes into is one of our bigger gravity fed, because it's coming off of our big pump station. So truly doubt there will be, maybe years down the road, because again, it's a fairly new line. So 50, 60 years possibly, but by that time, things will change again, I'm sure.
So if you're familiar with a sump pump in a home.
Yep.
Very similar.
Okay.
In terms of size, in this particular.
Yeah, this is a 2-inch line going into I want to say it's probably a 24-inch line.
Hmm.
So,
Nothing crazy.
yeah.
Okay.
It's gonna take a lot.
Okay.
If it's backing up, we got major issues throughout that area.
Understood. Thank you.
Yep.
Move to second reading by title only.
Thank you, Max.
Ridenhour,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Latari.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
An ordinance authorizing a third party to locate, construct, and maintain a sanitary sewer connection to city sanitary sewer line and for access to the same for purposes of ongoing maintenance. This is for adoption or rejection. Ridenhour,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Latari.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
Thank you.
Item 7.5, an ordinance authorizing the city manager and city clerk to execute a professional services agreement with Burns and McDonnell Company, Inc. for Phase 2 construction administration and observation services for the Rethink McGuire project. Phil Adlich.
Mayor, council members, again. So this one is our emerging contaminants grant location. Burns and McDonald's phased them, 1, 2, and 3. We finished 1 and 3. Now we're coming back for 2. They had already done a lot of the design, but now we need to get them on board so that we can have them here to help us with the construction, with the project management of it, and to finish the design. So this is allowing them to get paid for what we're hoping that we can accomplish in all the.
Okay, when I looked through I read through the documents and I don't see where it specifies what it's for. I couldn't figure it out. I was gonna ask you what street this has to do
Well,
with. There's
from-
no mention of emerging contaminant grant or North Street to Emerson or anything in that I could find in any of the
Because it's
documents.
Specified under their phase 2 of this, but.
Phase
this-
2 needs to be defined in this document, otherwise we don't know what we're agreeing to. And tomorrow, when we all croak, nobody knows what we just agreed to.
It's not in the agreement. I'd have to look over the agreement here. I don't have it in. front
I'm
of me.
sorry, say,
It's not in the agreement. I mean, because I attached the agreement in there.
I couldn't find
You
it
couldn't
in the
find it.
agreement. I could find where they specified hours.
Just the project title.
What's it say?
It says McGuire Street Corridor Upgrade Project Phase 2.
So what's phase 2?
So that's on page 3 of that 7-page document is the scope of services.
What, page 3 of the agreement?
Of the agreement, yeah, is where you'll start to see scope of services.
Numbered page 3 or just actual third
Exhibit
page?
1.
Sorry,
scope of
exhibit
services?
1's,
Okay,
I'm looking at it as just a PDF, page 3.
okay, and tell me where it says.
So that's where it goes into scope of services. At the top of the page.
Along McGuire.
Yeah, so it references
That's it.
phase 2 improvements along McGuire Street. I don't know.
It
You're
doesn't,
looking for just exactly the points of McGuire on which it is referring to.
Or
I want it to refer to how we refer to it, either from, I didn't know this had anything to do with,
With McGuire, you're
with-
wanting it to. refer
no, I
to
knew it had to do with
emerging
McGuire.
contaminants.
and that it was phase 2, but I did not know what phase 2 was until a moment ago when you said it's the emerging contaminants project. So it should say in here what we've been referring to. We need to use the same language.
So
So phase
Burns and
2,
McDonald's was using the language that they had previously used on phase 1, 2, and 3, and therefore I should have associated it with emerging contaminants north to Emerson. And
well,
or
it's
just if
common
it were to say the emerging contaminant grant,
Right.
then we would know.
So
And you could go back to that.
it's pretty common to use a contract template, which is what page 1 appears to be, and the number 1 on page 1 calls out the scope of services, but it calls it out by reference. And so we need an attachment that references it more clearly.
So unless
Yeah.
this document says emerging contaminant grant, or like I thought, it might be, phase 2 was gonna be, from Emerson up to, I thought maybe Russell. I didn't know what it was.
understand.
Yeah, so unless it says that, then I'm not for approving it.
We
And I'm a-
have prior documents that go in much greater detail, but I'm not disagreeing. It can be attached to this for clarity to.
I would be agreeable if to approve it if it's typed in here.
Or the
And-
phase 2 was attached stating that it was from
If-
North Street to Emerson.
If you
emerging
have a
contaminants.
phase 3,
Phase 3 is already done.
well,
Phase 4, yes, I understand.
okay, you have all these phases with all the different. Put them out there for us to see.
I understand.
attach them every time you bring up another phase. Then we can look and see and know.
I understand.
I got tired of reading this, looking for it.
Okay. I
So
apologize for that one.
is it all right if we still consider this our first reading? We can just get the attachment for the second reading next time?
I'm okay with trusting them that they're gonna type it in there. And it's gonna say, phase 2 equals emerging contaminant grant. I'm good with that. I trust them to do that.
Okay.
But can we do that without changing the wording of the ordinance?
Can we change?
Can
Is
we
there a way
do
that we could just attach what is phase 2 without changing the wording of the ordinance?
I just wanted to
I think
identify.
to slow it down, I think the cleanest, passing on first reading is an indication of Burns and Mac, our intention to contract with them.
Mhm.
And then I think we could get clarification, attach it to the second reading, and probably be the cleanest paper trail.
Okay,
For
that's what I would
the
like.
record.
I don't have a problem with that if we're not changing the actual ordinance, if we're just attaching new information and making sure this is what phase 2 is exactly referring to. That's fine.
I concur.
All
right.
Thank you.
So I think what it'll amount to is a lot more detail in that attachment that the city attorney referenced as the scope of services. Providing sufficient detail in that document.
I guess the question I have is if what you're looking for is so the scope of services, I don't know, would change because the scope of services is already in place. But if you're simply looking for the ordinance itself to lay out that phase 2 means
I just wanna know what it means.
this work in this area.
That's right.
Okay. I think if that's what we're doing, it's probably cleaner to change the ordinance then. But it doesn't mean that we couldn't have a vote from if somebody made a motion that they wanted to tell Burns and McDonald that we intend to move forward with this, but that we are going back to the drawing board on the ordinance, something along those lines.
So, and I'm with you. What I was thinking, on page 3, exhibit 1, scope of services, where it now says. Engineers shall provide construction administration and construction observation support services for the city of Warrensburg phase 2 improvements along McGuire Street. Replacing city of Warrensburg phase 2 improvements along McGuire Street with something in considerably more detail. That describes that project.
That makes sense.
If I may, my suggestion would be to just attach a map or the construction plans for phase 2. And there's no need to change scope of services or the ordinance or anything, just understanding what phase 2 actually is doing.
But in all honesty, I think there is benefit to call out some of the detail, with this being an underground vault and excavation and compaction. For clarity, but it might be helpful to articulate that beyond just a map.
To update the scope of services.
To what phase 2 was always discussed. I mean, we
Yeah, just
always had it as phase 2. We knew what that was.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
All right.
And then I wouldn't have a problem then doing the first, like you said, doing the first reading.
And
Do we have to revise?
We're not changing the ordinance, we're only changing the attachments
Okay.
to the ordinance, which is for more information.
so you pass on first, staff would coordinate with Burns and Mac between first and second to get more clarity about the scope. And you could come back with the revised
Thank you.
language.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Move to second reading by title only.
Reading?
Ridenhour,
No.
Osborne,
No.
Latari,
No, sorry.
Jones,
No.
Euler.
No,
Thank you. Well, it's the gut reading next week, next meeting.
Thank you.
Joe will be here for that.
He's Spencer Bank. He's Spencer.
Ready?
Yes.
Thank you.
Item 7.6, an ordinance authorizing the city manager and city clerk to execute a master services agreement with CB Facility Services, a Clean Bro LLC for custodial services at city facilities. I bet it's Phil Adlich again.
Yeah, go figure. Mayor, city council members, so this one here, we've, the city let go the previous custodial services June 12th, and so we went out for our process for proposal. We had lots of interest. I was excited. We were getting lots of people, requesting the documents. And then we had one company come in and say, yeah, we'll do it. So we are in talks with them about getting this process started for the services. It is almost $30,000 cheaper than the previous custodial services. They are actually doing more than what the previous custodial services was doing.
Have they already started?
No, we are waiting for you guys to approve this company and for the city manager and clerk to sign the paperwork.
So we came up with temporary measures in the meantime.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wondered what was.
For police department, they've been doing it the longest, so. But we are looking forward to getting them on board and getting them through the process. They've got to meet the police department's standards and city standards and all that. Yeah. Ensure the safety and things that background checks. So,
Any questions for Phil?
Were you able to get references?
we did have a couple references that I did call and they were good. As good as references can be.
Okay.
This just brought up a question for me. Where does this city of Warrensburg trash and recycling go?
We use constables, right?
Yeah, we have,
But you have a dumpster. How did they?
We have a dumpster and then we have the floor.
This is a dumpster, and then we have the 4 carts for recycling.
It's from Constable? Gotcha.
Yeah, we pay our monthly bill to constable.
Confidentiality and security, obviously top of mind. I did see that call out within the agreement. Are we requiring non-disclosure agreements, background checks of your employees or anything?
Checks are required. The Clean Bros does a background check and then police department has their background checks as well.
Very nice. Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
And so this, the scope of work will be, scope of services will be like a checklist, so you can go in. And one of the things that I think is extremely important everywhere, including public buildings, are that the bathrooms are clean and don't have any odor whatsoever. So I can't tell if the stall walls are being wiped down and how often that's happening. Because every time, you flush whatever was in there, it gets pretty disgusting. So I couldn't tell from reading through this if that was part of the cleaning.
We will make sure that that is communicated to the service provider and make sure it's part of it.
I think part of the intent of putting this out to bid with the RFP and the contract was having a higher level of accountability to that level of detail. So what we'll need to do is just stay on top of it, keep those lines of communication open if we're seeing the performance is slipping.
Is this responsibility, is it gonna stay with the Director of Public Works, or is it gonna be
So,
something that
it's in my
perhaps the new?
purview, buildings and grounds
Gotcha.
is under Public Works, and buildings and ground will be the first contact.
Gotcha,
If they're not there, then it will move to me
gotcha.
and we will stay on top of it and
Gotcha.
make sure everything's, so.
In Councilperson Jones, I would say that sometimes vagueness can be our friend in that the wording on this says that the restrooms will be cleaned. So I think clean means to our standards.
Yes. Yeah, if you could smell anything, it ain't clean.
Any other questions for Phil? Thank you, Phil.
Move to second reading by title only.
Ridenhour,
Yes.
Osborne.
Yes.
Latari.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
An ordinance authorizing the city manager and city clerk to execute a master services agreement with CB Facility Services, a Clean Bro LLC for custodial services at city facilities. This is for adoption or rejection. Ridenhour,
Yes.
Osborne.
Yes.
Latari.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 8.1, mayoral appointments. Motion to approve mayoral appointments as follows. A, appoint Jay Brown as a member for the Energy and Sustainability Task Force for a first 2-year term through July 2028.
So moved.
Ridenhour,
Yes.
Osborne.
Yes.
Latari.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Euler.
Yes. And appearances to the council not listed on the agenda. See Tom brought his own paper with him, so thank you. If you would state your name and your address, and you have 3 minutes. Thanks, Tom.
I'm Thomas Ruley. I live 1309 Country View Lane. 2 observations. One, there was some work on a water line on my street today, and the backhoe came down. They didn't know where they were digging. They just dug a lot until they finally found one. So I thought that was curious that, they didn't know. My real purpose in coming up, my observation, was on Barbara's overlay map. The yellow one with the little, with the businesses. And you notice on that the shopping center with the grocery store is yellow outline, even though none of those businesses have any face on McGuire. That parking lot does have an exit that on McGuire, but that's all it is. So none of those businesses, show on McGuire. If you go across the street, that other shopping mall or area does not have a yellow line around it. So if McDonald's remodels or IHOP or somebody wants to remodel, they are not affected by the new ordinance. Whereas if you were to remodel, say, Sherwood Williams Paint, in theory, you would have to comply with the new ordinance, and that seems out of balance somehow. That was just an observation I'm making, that here's one shopping center that was brought in, the other one didn't, and the only reason this one is brought in is by virtue of an exit that comes out there. None of the buildings show on McGuire. In general, I think sprucing up McGuire is a good idea, but I just thought I'd mention that because I come here a lot, and so I have to make something every now and then.
Thanks for coming, Tom. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
We enjoy having you. Miscellaneous matters from the mayor and or city council.
Nothing for me.
Jim?
I would like to request on Rethink McGuire, could we get a Rethink McGuire fact sheet? Phase 1 was this, phase 2 is this, phase 3, phase 4, whatever they are. Phases, their description, just so that we can have it. We don't deal with it day in and day out, and sometimes we just can't keep track. Thank you.
I did want to mention a special shout out for our police and fire. Thank you for all that you have done. I know the last couple of weeks have been kind of crazy with a lot of stuff happening around town. Y'all killed it. So thank you for doing that.
And with that, thanks to all the departments for a great Freedom Festival, July 4th. Everybody, it was great. We had so much positive feedback for it, but it was a lot of work for a lot of people here in this room, and it was wonderful. And thank you for stepping up to be almost a shooter now. And that's good. You're getting there, so thanks. City staff updates, city manager.
Well, it is that time of year, it's the 4th of July, just got past that. Last week, we had our budget retreat. Tomorrow is round 2 of budget retreat. Chief Munsterman will have some additional information for you about another activity tomorrow. TIP commission is tomorrow evening at 5 p.m. Thursday, July 23rd is the chamber annual awards at 6 p.m. Wednesday, July 29th is the annual meeting of the Warrensburg Property Rehabilitation Corporation, which that clock is run, and so we should be incorporated or empowered to take action as it relates to derelict buildings. So may not sound like a lot, but there's a lot of things going on that all kind of culminate in July.
What does
Happy to answer any questions.
what does the TIF commission do?
And it's just an annual meeting, it's the tax increment financing, so it's an update meeting, there's no active applications. It'd just be to inform them of what's occurred in the past year.
Just another meeting to attend. Anything else, Mike?
Nope.
All right. Administrative Services Department. City Clerk,
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Community Development.
It's in my staff report, but I will draw attention to it. Last meeting, I stated that Kristen Dyer, city planner, was leaving the city. And this meeting, I will state that Brett Penrose, our building official, has given his retirement notice. And so his last day with the city will be September 25th. And we'll have a process to fill that position, but additionally, we'll celebrate his retirement. And his 28 years of service with the city in the coming months.
Thanks for doing that. Yep, thanks for doing that. Fire Department.
No.
Parks Department.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council, and good evening, and echoing the mayor's comments earlier, congratulations also all those who worked on the July 4th event. Parks and Recreation was very proud to be a part of that, so great job, everyone. Beyond the 4th, we remain very busy with programs and pool activities. In addition, our Assistant Director, Tony Albertina, continues to work hard on the development of our new software. That is moving along in great progress, so appreciate very much his work on that. On Tuesday, June 30th, Park Board passed the 2026 and 27 budget, which will come forward to the City Council for ratification. And I want to thank Jessica Vemberlo and also City Manager Mike Schrag for their work with our staff. Much appreciated. There's going to be more detail, obviously, with the council later. Some issues even brought up during our joint meeting with the City Council. Looking forward to that on the 27th of July. And there's a couple operation issues. We had to shut down the dog park today. As some of you may know, we made the ground much smoother by turning it up and dragging it. We were getting complaints that the ground was too hard. But unfortunately, that along with heavy rains has turned up some items in the ground that are not safe, which includes metal and old glass. So there's got a bit of work that we're going to have to do. Staff is looking into options of getting pricing on ground cover, et cetera, that we can look at and have more discussions with our Building and Grounds Committee, as well as the Park Board on some of the options that staff comes forward with. And also with some of the heavy rains, there was a few washed out areas in the new trail along the woods area of Lions Lake. And staff has ordered replacement materials. The ag line is similar to what was put down, and this will be put down in the next few days. So we will be doing that. And we are also in future planning to build small retaining walls that would go along the bottom of the woods area to cover the most aggressive water areas that's coming down and see if we can work on that to help some of the wash away. But in the meantime, we'll continue to fill any of the gully areas with the product that we have ordered. We will have it stockpiled at the parks maintenance shop and be able to take that out by truck and stay on that maintenance. So that's all I have, except for any questions.
Yeah, quick, what do you think we'll do with the dog park? Put dirt back out there on top? I mean,
Well,
and for people who don't know, being a townie, I know why that stuff is coming up.
It's a landfill.
It was our old
right?
landfill, so.
yes.
Yeah.
That is the option that we're looking at right now
Mhm.
is, and also really kind of doing some research to see about how much.
Yeah.
Whether it's 4 inches, 6 inches, or how much that we would need to put down out there and then do grass seed. I think a lot of people would like that. It's a very large area, so it's a possibility if gets too cost expensive that we could do the first area that's open as soon as you drive in there. And then with the division for small dog and large dog. And then later do step 2 to phase 2 and open up more of it. It just depends on what the cost is. I know it's gonna take black dirt to grow grass and then of course hay bales and everything is expensive, but we're looking at that. The committees of the board have talked about alternate locations, but in regards to the size of the opportunity and what's already out there, it'd be quite a lot to move and go somewhere else. But we do have some other thoughts too in regards to parking. We spoke with Public Works and we're looking at some things we're doing there, but kind of want to get it farther down the road before I talk about that anymore.
And I assume it would be cost prohibitive to take off 2 or 3 or 4, 6 inches of whatever's there and replace it. That would be even more expensive, I'm assuming, by.
That has crossed my mind. Also scary what you might uncover.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that.
We'd have to go to hazmat. probably.
So, but so far, just today, after hearing of this discovery, we went out and definitely verified that there were pieces that were out there that had moved their way, so.
Is there a way to screen it? Like if you're looking for gold, you screen it.
I think a phenomenon with landfills is it.
It
comes to
rises,
the surface,
yeah.
but whatever we do may not be permanent,
Good
it may be a
temporary.
temporary fix, and then we'll find ourselves doing this again. So Chris and I didn't have much of a chance to talk. In fact, I emailed him while he was presenting, but I think we probably need to give a good hard look at a different location. Or at least give a lot of consideration to if we do something in the way of a fix, how permanent a fix might that be?
And then as far as the erosion at Lions Lake, do you think, I'm hopeful that all the removal of all that invasive bush honeysuckle didn't contribute to that, but do you feel like that might have been part of it? That, because when you take out any roots, you make a erosion much more likely. So maybe we need to get some more native plants in there. Those of us who requested to take it out, I mean, not you.
Yeah, that's okay. Well, to me, I think that would have some truth to it, because instead of having the roots there to hold, you're exposing the ground, and therefore when you have rain, you're gonna have more wash if you don't have it replaced with new plants.
Yeah.
So that's a possibility, but it also is, from my time here, I've seen it as a hill that has had that wash there anyway. I think we kind of knew it was gonna be a little bit of a challenge anyway going around there. And, but it certainly is nice because you walk it every day and there are people that are just doing that circle every single day.
Yeah.
So we hope to keep it in good shape. But I do like the idea of some alternate plants.
Getting some.
In place, yeah.
Yeah, I talked to Dan Brigman the other day, who used to run the Amasa State Park. Now he's like a regional director for him, and they had it the same challenge out there on the Spirit Trail. And at some point we may have to. I mean, it's just a steep slope, a lot of water coming down that hill, no matter what. And it was there before too, like you said. So, I mean, hate to say it, but it may have to go to hard surface or something at some point, keep it from washing out. But it's a great trail and it's fun. So much fun to see people out there and families.
It's busy.
I will echo the mayor's point, though. I mean, I think I called it out in my first meeting actually back in April that I had noticed that erosion already. I mean, if we're gonna have to do that 2, 3, 4 times a year, it might be cheaper labor wise and material wise to go hard surface sooner rather than later. At least in that short little portion there, that's
Yeah,
getting.
more natural plants. We need more plants. That would be my, let's try that.
Do the plants, but it's still so much water coming in that hillside, even before, I mean, when we had the invasive species there, but.
Yeah.
Well, it's an accessibility thing also. You want to make sure somebody can get through with a wheelchair fairly easily,
Absolutely.
so.
Any other questions for Parks? Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Police Department?
Evening, Mayor, Council. First, I'd like to start off, we're losing Corporal Cleo Hood. He's been with us for approximately 8 years. He's going to the federal courthouse, in Kansas City. He just, turned in his resignation last Thursday or Friday. He'll be missed, so if you see him out and about, tell him appreciate his, service here, because he did do a pretty nice job for us. They're eventually moving to Alabama, where his family's from, is what he's informed me. Last week, the Warrensburg Police Department was, pretty busy. We served 9 search warrants on, businesses, for deceptive practices. Tomorrow, it was, kind of interesting watching and observing, all the detectives working those scenes. It was, kind of an assembly line. But what was even more interesting was watching our new officer, Emily Barnes. She's in training, FTO training, and, her supervisor who was training her had her in assisting with the collection of evidence. So got a lot of great experience, and that was fun to kind of watch new people learn that stuff. With that, the Attorney General, Catherine Hanaway, and the State Prosecutor Rob Russell called a joint press conference for tomorrow. It's going to be tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. at the Warrensburg Conference Room. So regarding to the deceptive business practices that was occurring here in Warrensburg. That's gonna be joint with the Johnson County Sheriff's Office and myself and Prosecutor's Office and the Attorney General. So stand for any questions.
Where's it gonna be at the
At
police?
the Warrensburg conference room at the PD. So
in light of that, I think what we need to do is call our meeting to order, our budget retreat to order, and Chief and I talked about him giving us a heads up when the Attorney General is getting close. So depending on the timing, we may need to call a meeting to order, recess, and adjourn to the press conference and return from the recess. Back to a retreat. And everything's on time, it'll be tight. If things run behind, we may go a little bit to start to our retreat and then step away.
Now we're scheduled for 9 a.m. tomorrow.
In 2 places.
Yes.
Yes.
So is the highway patrol bringing her in? Is it kind of like when the governor comes in?
it's a little bit, but she's through the state, but that's coordinated with Rob Russell with the State Prosecutor's Office. So she's interested in this case, adopting this case.
I think Councilwoman Jones's question was whether she'd be escorted, physically escorted.
Not that I'm aware of. Not that I'm aware of.
Great work, Chief. And
Yeah,
There's
congratulations.
a lot of man hours, and that was a lot of detective work and officer work. They did fantastic work. So I appreciate them looking into it.
Yep.
Thank you.
How much, where did you put it?
We've stored it at a security location at this point. in
You
time.
can't.
How many, like how many U-Haul?
Not U-Hauls.
Oh.
We'll go into more details.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Thanks, Chief.
Thank
Thank you.
Public Works. Phil, come on, you're up here all night. What do you?
So we still have lots of projects going on besides all the other stuff. The plant expansions are going well. Tanks are getting equipment in it. The reed beds are scheduled to come, I believe, at end of July. So, I mean, not the reed beds, the reeds themselves are scheduled to come end of July, and then they will be watered and then planted. The reed beds themselves are full of sand and all the rock, and so that whole process is going well. We've had a sewer repair over there on Warren Street. So that went well, as can be expected for a, oops, there's a sinkhole type thing. So still working with the engineers on designing the Main Street sinkhole, getting that culvert replaced. See.
It's not us, but the water line work on Mitchell.
On Mitchell.
That's on, who's doing that?
That is Missouri American Water and Spire, right there, or Kissick. I always get those confused. Yeah, Spire is the gas company. They're Miller out on the trail, out on DD. So we've got those utility companies still in here doing work. See, my brain's fried. There's
So
so
are
many
they gonna have
other
to put
small
the street
projects.
back
What?
on, like on Mitchell, where they tore up both sides?
They are going to, they have to meet our standard. So we have a standard that they have to put it back to. So unfortunately, I'm working on an ordinance to get to where if they tear up 20% of the road, which hopefully I'll bring to you eventually, along with all the other stuff that's going on, they will overlay it. But we don't have that standard right now. Our standard is going to be more like what's already on Hamilton. If you know where they replaced that water main not too long ago, a couple
Okay.
years ago.
Mhm.
So you'll probably have asphalt and then a strip of concrete. So
So it's gonna be like Colton Street.
it'll be
Yeah,
similar
so-
to, so it'll be similar to a lot of streets that
Yeah.
we have around here. But I have been working on that other ordinance because it'd be nice if
Are
they're
we-
going to tear up road like that, they need to replace it.
Are we delaying some of our
Milling,
milling and overlay until they're?
Mitchell was not part of that. We're delaying the mill and overlay just because of the weather. That in advanced asphalt is not here yet due to that. They're catching up from all the rain and delay that they've experienced. They're still scheduled to come in July, end of July.
Right.
So I, last year, I guess it'd be reached out to Missouri American Water, trying to get a better sense of their capital improvement plans and their schedule so that we can try to coordinate. And they were very receptive, the local representative of what, for beyond the regional management. They shared with me their CIP. And there was a little, we still need to work on timing to be able to account for all that. But then their CIP changed quite a bit. Their scope was a lot bigger in the original budget compared to what ultimately got approved. And so, and it looks like it's gonna be a little hard for us to fully anticipate what they intend and what they actually do in any given construction season. But part of that conversation was intended to be, rather than you spend your funds in repairing the street, if we could coordinate and you could contribute, and then we could coordinate our street work, that might be better use of funds, and still intend to have that conversation, but a little hard to synchronize our timelines.
Been buried in the budget. I don't know why.
We're trying to save money in the end, but,
Yeah.
yep.
Sidewalk program should be starting up here. They're finishing up with the curb and ADA. So again, weather is delaying a lot of that development. So street department's still out on Streck in that area. So there's a lot of base that they needed to repair.
Are you about finished with college or do you still have more work?
That little section there by the bridge is the last little part that we'll be doing on college, I believe.
Are you gonna touch that bridge at all?
No, I mean.
That's a
Well, we-
rough spot. That's a really bad, that's
Oh,
not ADA.
actually, College Street is getting milled and overlaid all the way from south down.
Yes, I'm just talking about the sidewalks through
Sidewalk-
there.
Yeah, no,
Oh.
that's, if you were to do something, it would basically, the bridge has to be touched, as in the whole deck and everything.
And then you got railroad clearance issues as well.
Yeah. It's just a bad sidewalk through there.
Yes,
I've tripped a couple times myself.
we
so,
are, Mike's looking about getting that all in the budget in the future.
Okay. Appreciate it.
Just like that.
Yeah. I didn't realize this was gonna be the season now. So I appreciate that.
What else do you need?
Thanks, Phil.
Thank you.
Phil.
Thank you.
Warrensburg Convention and Visitors Bureau. We're adjourned.